Hi again everyone, welcome to a video for day 2 of the Fairyhouse Festival. Day 1 we had a pretty good time I think on day 1 I'd say. Tipped up winner in Simon Gray. Obviously in that one mentioned Back to Blue as well as an each way alternative and came in the top 2, so that would have been good. Shadow Weller and Dress to the Nines, 2 of the 3 mentioned, came in the next one, which is always a nice one. And what else? We had a couple of others. Lyrene Legend got placed. What else have we got? I'm just going through my list here. Chill got placed, and obviously Rathlin and Flemenstar came first and second in the in the big race of the day. So hopefully we can carry it on today with some good picks. And first up is a great 2 mile 4 hurdle, and the horse I think I fancy in this one is Oscar's Well. I've been running well in defeat all the way prior to the Cheltenham Festival and was actually reasonably touted through the likes of Pricewise for the champion hurdle. He was there between the final 2 flights before he got run out of it, but all in all, I think that's the best piece of form on offer. Interestingly enough, he was meant to be going for the Aintree hurdle at Aintree next Saturday, but it looks like they decided to swerve that and come from here instead, and I think that speaks volumes. So I think he should be the type to run a really good race today. The favourite is actually Get Me Out of Here, who's run second in the likes of the Betfair hurdle, and then came second, I think it was in the Coral Cup at Cheltenham. He gets a lot of weight from Oscar's Well as well, so he should run a very big race. The one worry I do have with Get Me Out of Here is it's a different between like a handicap and obviously stepping up into a race of this quality really. He could do it, McCoy's on it, which is always a big one, but I don't know, I just think he's always going to be one of those nearly horses. Today might be his day. Part of me kind of wants it to be in a way for both the horse, the owners, the connections and McCoy himself, but I've just got a feeling Oscar's Well's got the better of him. Other horse to mention is the Real Article as well. He ran a decent race behind Unaccompanied at Leopardstown back in January. He missed the Cheltenham Festival, and the article I read earlier today was in February. He missed it to go for this today and then Punchestown, which I think speaks volumes itself. He's around 5 to 1, so he could be an each way price, but I think Oscar's Well should have enough to go in today. The 3:10 is a 2 mile 6 hurdle, and the horse I like here is called It's the Ice I Like. Won last time out over 2.5 miles, travelled great. The step up and trip should be okay because he did look briefly in trouble after the last flight, but it wasn't really a case of they were quick enough. He just kind of stayed on past it, so I think 2 miles 6 will be in his benefit, and he should be improving. A horse who should be improving as well is the AJ Martin trained Deddy Go Out, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's his handicap debut, and we know what the Martin stables are like for handicap plungers. He actually had a piece of form behind Monksland, who is highly touted for a race at Cheltenham. Didn't actually fire. Read the reasoning behind that was they don't think he liked the course, so that could be a very good piece of form, and he could be on a nice mark. Another horse to mention this is Novaru as well, currently 10 to 1. He's won over 3 mile. The ground should be okay. The step back by 2 furlongs won't be an issue, and he runs from the front, so he could be the type as well to get a good lead, get himself into a good position in this race. So they're the 3 I think to focus on in this one, but I do like It's the Ice I Like. I think he's an actual proven horse in that field. The 2 mile hurdle in 3:40 is basically a Cheltenham rematch for a lot of people. The favourite is actually Steps to Freedom, who was favourite for the Supreme Novices, but then it never happened for him. He never fired for 1 second, and apparently came back ill after that race, and there was all sorts of problems. My worry here is it's obviously only like 3.5 weeks since Cheltenham, so he wasn't right then. He's had all the travelling. He had to recover from that, get back in training, and I don't know if I'll be taking the 15 to 8 2 to 1 about him today. The horse I do like in this race is Midnight Game for Willie Mullins and Ruby Walsh, and I think it speaks volumes the fact that Ruby Walsh has picked Midnight Game over second favourite Allure of Illusion. He had all the form in Ireland before going to Cheltenham, and the course clearly didn't suit. I watched the race again this morning. He never let himself down. He was changing his feet a lot, and I just really think this more conventional type of course at Fairyhouse will be more to his advantage. 5 to 1, he's my each way bet that I'll be doing. Allure of Illusion run a great race in the Supreme Novice at Cheltenham. You can't take that away from him. But I think the one thing I would say with that Supreme Novice form, and it will go a long way to say it, too many horses for me in this race really didn't perform. So, it might, Cinders and Astros and the likes, and even Aurora Illusion might turn out to be very good, but until I see them back on the course, I'd rather reserve judgment on that. But Allure of Illusion should run a big race. Also in this race, as well as the County Hurdle winner Alderwood, the one thing I would say is this isn't a handicap, it's a step up in class, and I kind of got the impression it was all roads led to Cheltenham. I'm not saying this is necessarily an afterthought, but to win one of those competitive handicaps at Cheltenham's tough, and to come out in a higher class race I don't. Yeah, he could run. He should run a good race, but for me, there, I think we're looking at Midnight Game and Lure of Illusion. For me, those two are the two to focus on. Obviously, Steps to Freedom will be a big player if he's back over his injury. 410 is one of the two bumper races on, or the bumper race on the card. It's a hard one to have a betting on this. There's a big odds on favourite Teelin Star. He's a clear form pick. He's won his last 2 points doing handstands. 10 to 11 though, I don't know if, to be honest with you, it could be worth putting it in with some multiples, but he's the clear form pick, I suppose, so I can understand why he's a short price. I always follow Willie Mullen's bumper horses, and that's how we managed to tip up Champagne Fever at Cheltenham. He really does know how to play these bumpers well, and Balnaslow is his only horse in this one, and usually goes multiple-handed in these bumpers. One last time out, got very big profile, very decent profile in the point-to-point circuit, and if he can twist that into the form needed for a bumper race like this, 9 to 1 could be a good each-way price on him. That'll be a tough one. The 450 is obviously the highlight of day 2, which is the Irish Grand National. I'm actually going to focus on 5 horses here. I mentioned briefly at the end of the video yesterday, Glam Jerry. I said I would obviously be looking to do him next time after the Cheltenham Festival. I've had a look at it again. He stayed on pretty well. He travelled well, and then they kind of quickened away from him. But it's a huge step up from 2 mile 5 to over a mile further, and it's a huge question mark whether he'll stay. But you know, he's 40 to 1, so that could be a decent price. I really don't know, but there's a huge question mark whether he'll stay. Alley Guard was highly fancied. He was 6 to 1 for the 4 miler in the festival, and he fell early doors. Just a silly mistake really on that. So I was quite surprised to see that he's double that price here today, because I think this race is very similar in terms of competitiveness as it was for that 4 miler at Cheltenham. Obviously a bit different when it's a handicap, so I can see him running a very big race. In that 4 miler as well, 4 Commanders, who's running today off 10 to 1. He came second in that race and did absolutely no harm to his chances there as well. So on the line through that Cheltenham run in the 4 miler, you'd have to put 4 Commanders and Alley Guard coupled up together as having a decent chance. Alfie Sherrin won the 3 miler at the Cheltenham Festival, and he was getting pushed along and drove out and only got there on the line, so the step up to 3.5 miles should be well within his compass. The one worry is on here, the yard are renowned for these Cheltenham handicap gambles. Whether they can go to the well once more, I do question that, to be honest with you. But I can still see him run a good race. But the piece of form which could turn out to be the best here could belong to Cross Appeal, currently 12 to 1. He actually beat Treacle last time out, and Treacle is highly fancied in certain parts of Ireland. And in fact, I noticed yesterday a couple on Channel 4 Racing fancied Treacle for the Grand National. So if Treacle is the horse that we think he is, and he's the type that's going to do well, then Cross Appeal at 12 to 1 would be my idea of a pick here. What I would say, if I was looking at this race, if I was going to pick 2 against the field, I think I would go with 4 Commanders and Cross Appeal at 10 to 1 and 12 to 1 coupled up. Alley Guard should run well, but it was a fall, and once again, how have he recovered from the fall? We noticed, I think it was in the last race yesterday, we mentioned about El Fontan after his fall last time. He was clear favourite, and he'd run no sort of race at all for me. Big card today, it's 8 races as well, so we're going to move on now to the 525. And once again, this is a ridiculously hard race, 20 odd horse, 2 mile and a bit handicap chase. I wouldn't have a bet on it, it's just too many variables in it. Though if I was picking something, the one horse we'd focus on is called Senior Again, trained by JP McManus. JP McManus has a cracking record in this race, but this horse is very tough. He won last time, but it was a very gutsy effort. He got to the lead, and then horses came at him, and he kept finding that little bit more. The chances are he might be slightly ahead of the handicapper. So Senior Again at around 6 to 1. If you're going to have a bet, that would be the horse that I would focus on in that one. Moving on to the 555, which is the 2 mile 6 chase. Now, one horse I'm going to mention before we go any further in this is called Barrel of Laughs, trained by the former Gold Cup winning jockey Jim Colotti. He was 25 to 1 this morning. He's now into 8 to 1. Now, he came third behind Swing Bill at Cheltenham, which was a decent piece of form, really. And he's been off since. I don't know if he had an injury or a knock, or he's been kept for the better ground. But it's an interesting market move, that 25s into 8s. And as I already said it yesterday, especially this time of year in the jumps, if you see a plunge on a horse, it's always worth taking it into consideration, because you just don't know where it's going to go to, really. The line of form that I like, though, here, and a horse I do think has got a good chance each way, is Molly's Boy, currently 7 or 8 to 1 actually at the moment. He won over 2 mile 4, staying on at the end of the race, and it gave me the impression that 2 mile 6 will be okay for him. He was held up quite a lot that day, and he came all the way through and just kept on staying on towards the line. And if the step up and trip does suit, which I think it is, it could negate the penalty that he's got for being in the race. So he's my idea of a good horse to be doing each way at 7-1, especially top 4 betting. Now, if you're backing Molly's Boy, you couldn't do it without mentioning Scavenger Lad at 12-1. Molly's Boy beat him, and Scavenger Lad was leading or up there for a long way before Molly's Boy outpointed him on the run to the line. He's another one there. We got he was in the lead going well, and it was when the eventual winner or the eventual second quickened on. He got kind of caught flat-footed, and Molly's Boy had a bit more at the end of it. But bearing in mind he was forcing the pace and got quickened on. I think if they go a fraction slow over 2 mile 6, Scavenger Lad could be a decent each way price at 12-1. Though I think in this one I'd be quite happy backing Molly's Boy at 7-1. I think he's got the type of pedigree that'll go well in this race. And then that leads us to the final race of the day, which is the 6:25. Now, there's 3 interesting horses here for me. The favourite is Don Cossack, currently 6-5. He won a Grade 2 bumper in December. And I read an article again straight after that saying that they would not go into Cheltenham because they don't think he's far enough developed yet, basically, to go to Cheltenham. So, obviously, they've taken him out of here, out of Cheltenham, and they're going for this here. The interesting one is I had a look at some of the anti-post markets I would say for Cheltenham this year, and in places he was 8 and 9-1 early doors before it was very clear he wasn't going to run there. So he's obviously highly thought of. So 6-5 could be a great price here. An interesting horse, the second favourite at 3-1, is Sword of Honour. He's only won once, and he was an easy winner on his debut back in August. The one worry is he's been off since then. I know he had a bit of an injury, and maybe because of the lack of experience, they decided to wait for Cheltenham, but that's a long time off. We're talking the best part of 7-8 months now. So I'll be happy backing Don Cossack over him. Though an interesting horse at 7-1, and probably the form horse behind Don Cossack really, is called Morning Royalty, again for Willie Mullins. He was actually 9-10 odds-on favourite when he was beaten by Moscow Manon in his last bumper. But the reality was he was odds-on against Moscow Manon, who got placed in the champion bumper. So in terms of actual realised form, that's the realised form on that race. Apparently as well, he just said the race wasn't run to suit after that, and he wasn't beaten a great deal. So if the race is run more to suit, Morning Royalty could be the each way bet here. Though I think Don Cossack, I like it when they get kept for these bumpers. I think it often pays dividends to do it. And I'd be quite happy with Don Cossack here. So that's where we're up to today. Later on this evening, I'll be doing the video for day 3. I would ideally like to do it tomorrow, but unfortunately, due to work commitments, I've got to be on an early train up to Sheffield, so that's not going to happen. But I'll make sure that it gets done tonight. But if you're looking for some bets today, the main ones I think I'd be doing is Oscar's Well, and each way on the ice I like, each way on Midnight Game, and after that I think Molly's Boy at 7-1 and Don Cossack at 6-5. In the Irish National, it's a hard one to bet on, like any national race to be honest with you, but Cross Appeal and Four Commanders if you're doing anything there. Okay, I hope you found it useful. As always, if you think of anything that you may fancy today, please post it, and I'll be back with day 3 shortly. Take care, see you soon, bye bye.